Max, how long were you living in England before you were interned, and what educational training had you undertaken prior?
I was working on the farm for as soon as we got out into England. We were stationed near Oxford, near university, and we had teachers coming from the university to teach us English. And after we were there about 6 weeks, we had a relative in Barrow-in-Furness in Lancashire, and she said she managed to get us 2 jobs, and we went and worked on the farm. And when we were on the farm, the farmer asked us if we know of somebody else, because he was paying us 2 and 6 a week, you know, peanuts.
Whew.
And we said, yes, we've got a brother in Germany still. So he said, well, can you manage to get a permit for him? So he said, I will try, I will sign. And I had a relative in Manchester, and he managed to get that, and he got the permit, you know. And the permit was early August, and I got in touch with my parents and told them not to send them yet, because we only earn 2 and 6 a week. You know, the farmer is using us. But my father answered, as soon as he has got the permit to come to England, he will go. And he arrived in England on the 20th of August, and on the 1st of September.
And which year is this?
1939.
Right.
And 10 days later, war broke out.
Incredible. Can you remember the day you were interned in England?
I've got the black and white.
Can you remember under what circumstances you were picked up?
We were picked up, we were on the farm, and we had to, because that was near Barrow-in-Furness, they were building ships there, shipyards, and we had to get away from there, and we had to go to Manchester. And in Manchester, when we were in Manchester, they managed to keep us, you know, idle. They did not say anything, you know, we're going to be interned. But they interned us, and we were sent to Hay.
When you were picked up, were you on the farm?
No, we were not on the farm anymore then.
Where were you?
We were in, oh yeah, we were in Barrow-in-Furness. We had the relatives there,
Right.
and
So
we were still there, and then we went to Manchester to assemble there.
but when you finished working on the farm, where did you work after that?
After that, no more.
No more. Okay. And can you remember the policeman coming to get you at all?
Yeah, that was in Manchester.
In Manchester.
Manchester.
Right. And what did they say to you?
Said we have got to send you, you know, to Huyton, that was near Liverpool.
Were you aware beforehand that there was a danger?
Yeah,
that you might
we
be...
knew.
Okay.
Because we were of German origin,
Right.
and they did not know that we were anti-Nazi. And they sent us, you know, to Huyton, and in Huyton we were only 1 week interned. We volunteered to get away from England because we were frightened the Nazis were coming to England. And we 3 joined. We did not know where the ship was going, but we went on the Dunera, and the Dunera first went west, towards America, and we thought they will drop us in Canada.
So when you said you volunteered, did you have the opportunity to join the group going on the ship, or could you have
Or
decided
stay.
to stay?
We could have stayed in Hayden,
Okay.
but we were frightened that the Nazis were coming there, and that's why we volunteered to get away from there.
Was this the same for all the Dunera boys? Did they all decide that it was better for them to go on the ship, or is just that's the way it happened for you?
I can't talk
You don't know.
about the others.
So the first brother who came to you from Germany was who? The brother who came with you initially to England.
My twin brother.
Which one? That's
Alfred.
Alfred.
Yeah.
And then Steve came later.
Steve came 10 days before World War.
Right. So when you got on the ship on the Dunera, what were your thoughts? Can you remember what was going through your head at that time?
At that time, we thought that we were going to Canada, to camp in Canada.
You were just happy to get away from England.
From England,
Right. And of course, at this stage, did you know what had become of your parents?
Oh, we were in touch with our parents. It was my parents were still in Friedland, where we were born, but we had a relative in Switzerland, in Zurich, and my parents wrote to them, and we got the answer always.
Now, we all know the conditions on the Dunera from the many books that have been written and documents that we have read. How did you cope on board, and what frame of mind were you in? What were your thoughts while you were on board as to how you were treated, and generally the way that you lived on the ship?
We were happy that we got away from England because we were frightened the Nazis were coming to England. And we stopped in South Africa, in Cape Town, and there we had no contact with nobody, and as soon as they had petrol and everything, what they needed, we went south.
Well, did you realise by the time you got to Cape Town, did you realise that the Dunera was going to Australia?
No,
only after that.
Nobody told us anything.
Right. So when did you know?
When we were in Fremantle.
Right. Okay. And what was your reaction when you found out we're in this place called Australia?
We were happy to be there because we were frightened that the Nazis were winning the war, and that will be the end of us.
Did you know anything about Australia before?
No.
What was your reaction when you came ashore in Sydney?
Well, we got onto the train, and there was a guard. He said, when he spoke to us, that we understood English, because they thought that we were Germans and only German. So as soon as he had contact with us, he offered us cigarettes, and sit down, and he was surprised, that we spoke English. And then it took, I think, about 8-10 hours, to get to Hay, and then.
What did you think of the train ride?
The Australians were better than the British. Right. Because they were, they did not treat us well, the British. They came, they say that we have been put on this ship after we lost, our friends, in the Battle of Europe, and they threw things overboard, and they did not treat us well.
looking at the countryside that you were passing through for over a day, did you, what was your reaction to that?
But we thought that they take us somewhere, not to the cities, you know. And then when we arrived in Hay, you know, it was very nice, you know, what Australians did for us, you know. And I managed to get a job outside. I was working outside, and the fella in charge said, you know, we went there with a guard, you know, for people working in the store.
In Hay?
In Hay.
Which store, or what sort of store was it?
Quartermaster stores.
Okay.
And they said you can take anything out from here into the camp, but you must not be caught. And that was half Aborigine.
Really?
You know?
So each day you went out to work?
Yeah.
And you came back at night?
Yeah, and we brought biscuits, you know, from the quartermaster stores into the camp, because the boys in our hut 32, they were waiting for the afternoon coffee, what we got there, and had at least some biscuits, you know.
Now you were in camp number?
32.
The hut number, but what about,
Yeah.
was it Camp 7?
7, yeah.
Camp 7, which I think was mainly the Jewish internees, is that correct?
They were all, mostly 100%
right.
Jewish.
And what did you think of the campsite? What was your reaction to the campsite?
Well, it was built in a hurry. It was not actually finished. You know, they had showers, but not enough showers. You know, but there was our people were working in the kitchen and everything. My twin brother learned to be a diet cook there.
Okay. And did you continue your studies in the camp at all?
No.
Now, you told me some time ago, you said that you were in hut 32. You were in the same hut as my late father,
Yeah.
Martin Reichwald.
Martin, yeah.
Do you remember much about him at all, or did you have much to
I think he came from Dresden, eh?
He came from Leipzig.
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 Oh.
But can you recall much of those days with him at all?
Yeah, you know, there was a guy called Franz Jacobi, George Kaufmann. You know, these were all people in our hut.
I remember George was a good friend of Dad for many years
right.
afterwards.
So when I came back, you know, after the war, when did we come back? 50...
would have been 45, 46?
No. I was in the army until 46, and then I was stationed. I was with field security. I was a sergeant.
Okay. Well, look, we'll come back to that. So, did you have much to do with my father at all in the camp?
In the camp,
yes.
Yeah. So when we came back, we were invited by George Kaufmann. He was living with a doctor, and he invited your father. That was in Footscray.
Okay.
And first he was here in Bentley. He was there was a doctor, and he was sent then afterwards to Footscray. And in Footscray, after we arrived, we met your father and George Kaufmann.
Okay.
And they were both in our hut. So they listened to us what we had to talk about, you know, our in the British Army and so on. I got photos still of that.
Have you got photos of George and my father? Not maybe
No.
later on, but
No.
no.
But of us three brothers.
Okay.
On the first day, when we got leave from the army, three brothers went to North Wales to visit my sister. She was in the Land Army.
Okay. Now, did you then go to Tatura after Hay?
After Hay,
Did you go to Tatura?
we were in a small place near Adelaide.
Okay.
These were the people who joined the British Army, and that they should not tell the others, you know, to join the British Army. We should not influence them, you know, to get back to England.
So, whilst you were in Hay, were you advised that you had the choice of returning home or returning to England, or staying here, or did that happen later?
That happened later.
Later, right. And you decided to stay here? No?
No.
Did you go back to England?
No, I went back to England.
Oh, you went back to England?
Yeah. We
Okay.
went back to England.
In
Because we thought that when we get out of the army, we can help our parents more than here from Australia.
So, did you leave? Did you leave to go to England straight away from Hay, or did you go somewhere else? Did you go
to another camp
near Adelaide?
Near
like you said?
Adelaide.
Okay, and then you were there for what, a few months,
A month or so.
and then you returned to.
We should not influence anybody else, you know, to go back to England. So we were about 30 ex-internees,
Yep.
and went on a ship from Adelaide to Auckland. In Auckland we had a ship that went through the Suez Canal, but there were a lot of New Zealand people, soldiers, to go to England with the army, and they were very friendly to us, and they said, you know, if when we were not allowed to leave the boat in the canal, Panama Canal, and they said we'll give you New Zealand uniforms that
Okay.
you can that you have a good look there, that you can get off the boat, but nobody accepted that because we were frightened, you know, that we were not, they would have dropped us somewhere
Right.
at the Panama Canal, and we would not be able to get back to England.
Now, so the three of you went back to England.
Yeah.
Yep.